welcome back to Budgets and Dreams. My name's Jen, and over the past 2.5 years, myself and my family have worked really hard to pay back £28,000 worth of debt. We did that a month ago, a whole month. I've had a whole paycheck and we're on to the next one. Very exciting. So this video is all about my new budget and how I sort of plan my spending and how I get to the numbers that I get to for the cash stuffing, and also to show you my new way that I'm going to budget my money with a monthly and a 4-weekly paycheck. Previously, I just used to lump it all together, have a very complicated spreadsheet and budget every single week, but I have changed that now, but I will show you that in a minute. So a quick reminder of this week's affirmation before we get started. I am capable of creating the life that I want to live. And you really are, and it's very, very true. So do work with that one if you get a chance. I hope you've had a great weekend. I'm filming this on Thursday, straight after my previous cash stuffing. So I don't know how well my sentences are going to hold up. If I say anything weird, it's normal. I'm not losing my mind. I just, from time to time, get a bit confused. So this is all going to be very iPad-y and very spreadsheety. I did nearly do loads of printouts, and I thought I just cannot. So the only issue with it being on the iPad is it might be really wonky. So I'll try my best to make sure it's not wonky. So without further ado, I'm going to grab the iPad and we'll have a look at some numbers. All right then, so I've got a little pointer to help me with this. So the reason I'm running through this with everybody is firstly because transparency, also accountability, but also people have been asking me, what are you going to do with that extra £750 a month that was your previous debt minimum payment? So this will answer that question, and it is not as exciting as anyone would have hoped, I'm afraid. So anyway, this is the new budget. So this is how I work out the money, because we've got a monthly income, which is mine, and a 4-weekly income, which is my husband's. So I have to calculate everything that monthly, 4-weekly, and then the equivalent weekly amount, so that I can figure out what I'm going to be putting into the binders. So that's why there's a monthly, 4-weekly and weekly. So this is our new income as of today. So my salary comes in monthly at just over 2,400. My husband's comes in 4-weekly at 2,300, and we also have the child benefit. So in total, over a course of a month, if we were to do the maths and average that out, that's £5,025 a month, which works out at £1,160-ish a week. So I have actually had a pay increase. This is just a general business, sort of whole business pay increase, inflation type increase, which gives me an extra £21.73 per week to play with, which is very exciting. In terms of expenses, we've got all of our monthly bills which come out, which are 2,358, which is really handy because my salary covers all of those monthly expenses, which is brilliant, which makes my life a lot easier in terms of the budget. Groceries, we budget £100 a week. Fuel, we budget £40 a week, and fuel £10 a week. So the only change out of these regular expenses are we're going to be putting £10 a week extra into groceries. Go Henry, my son, gets £40 a month, which is an increase of £10 a month, which works out of a difference of £231 to our previous budget. Ben spend, save, splurge money. He gets £315 a month, and I'll show you how we figured that all out in a sec. So that's a £23.75 increase a week based on our old budget. Mine will be 300, which is 20 quid up a week. And then we've got 2 new categories in hyperjar, fun and home. So every 4 weeks, I'm budgeting £200 to top these jars up, which is a new thing, but it is in replacement of our old categories, which were family fun and time for us, and also what we would call budgeted spends, which is when we needed money for bits and bobs around the house. So all in all, we're going to be budgeting £50 equivalent a week, which is £30 a week more than what we used to budget across those other categories. And then I'm also going to include a £50 bank buffer every month, which is an £11.54 that was different to what we did last time because we didn't have a buffer in the bank account. Because of the monthly, 4-weekly cycles, the bank account very rarely got near zero. I think it did every like 3-4 months, something like that. So I definitely need a buffer now. So £50 buffer a month. So all in all, our total expenses for a month are £3,980 or £918.68 for the week, which is £97.60 more than our previous sort of regular fixed expenses. So that gives us £1,000 remaining every month, or £240 a week, which is £77 a week more than what we had previously. So despite the fact that we used to spend £750 every month on our minimum debt payment, we only have £77 extra per week for cash stuffing because of all of the increases that we've made here. I hope that makes sense. So I said I'd explain how we figured out how much money we were going to have for spending and saving. So this is where we figured this out. So again, I've done the monthly, for weekly calculations because some things go out monthly and other things go out weekly. So to start with mine then, I put a budget of £300 a year for clothes. I've got no idea how much clothes cost. I haven't bought any for the past 2.5 years. So I've got no idea how much money I need. That was just a guess. So that works out about £25 a month, or roughly around £5 a week. Again, shoes, £100 a year, maybe. Gym, £22 a month. That is actually a direct debit from the monthly bills account, but it is included as part of my personal allowance. Hair and beauty, £150 every 10 weeks to do general bits and bobs to my hair, which works out about £15 a week. Italy, I'm hoping to save £10 a week moving forward. It has been 5 for a long time, but hopefully 10 soon. And spend and save, ideally I wanted £50 a week that I could use for either savings, challenges and spending. But I've had to bump this down to 35 so that I could get in under the 300. So that was the plan. So this all works out to £291.08 every 4 weeks because we take our personal allowance from my husband's 4 weekly pay. I just got totally distracted. There is a cricket climbing up my window. I love crickets. I think they're really cool. Squirrel. So yeah, so about £300 a week. That's what my budget is going to be every 4 weeks. And then for Ben, it's the same, 300 for clothes, 100 for shoes. His gym membership is £18.50. That goes from his bank account. So that will be included in the 4 weekly money that he takes. He pays £100 towards his Mac, which he very much needs for his music. Supplements, £50 a month, saving £30 a month. That's his regular investments money that he has. And then for spending money, again, we wanted 50 quid. I keep saying a month, I mean every 4 weeks. He wanted 50 quid every week, but sadly couldn't afford that. So we bumped it down to 25. So for him to have £300 the same as me, we would have had to knock this down by another 15 quid, which means that he would only have £10 a week. And given that we've just gone through this debt repayment journey, I felt that was way too stingy. So that's why Ben gets a larger allowance than me, because it's just fair and it just works better that way. So that's how we figured out our personal allowances. So I'm going to take a breather. I suggest you do the same before we duck into now the new dream spend, sync, save versus the actual spend, sync, save. Oh, before I do that, one thing I've forgotten to say is we are zeroing out the bank today, so there will be some money involved at some point during this video. I forgot about that completely. Right then, so over to our dream save sync spending money then. Let's zoom this in a little bit. I hope you can see all of this okay. This is going to get quite small, but yeah, hopefully it's all right. So it's not very pretty, I'm afraid, because this is just me doing workings out. So this is my dream things that I would love to be able to save for. And for each of the things I've got, sorry, not just dream things, but things we have to save for as well. So I've got what our goal amount would be for these things, when we would ideally like them to be saved. And then again, I've got the monthly, 4 weekly, and weekly cash amounts here. So our available budget is that 240.83 that is left over, which is the 77 what's it a week. So in terms of cash stuffing, I've put that into a round amount, which is £240. So that's our available weekly money for cash stuffing that I need to split across absolutely everything I'd like to save for, which is not possible. Spoiler alert, I can't do it all. But yeah, we would never expect that anyway. So first of all, then I'll just do a couple and then I'll in detail and then I'll run over the rest sort of at a higher level. So in terms of needs, we've got our first one is car maintenance. So ideally what I wanted to have is a £1,000 sort of car emergency fund by the end of this year, which would need about £40 a week in cash. So that was the first one. I also wanted to save for a car service, which was £250 by March. Oh, that should be next year, which would work out to about £5 a week. And then Oscar's clothes, £300 sort of every year. So we drip feed that, keep it rolling, £5 a week. Emergency fund. I wanted to get a 3-month emergency fund, which this is just over, but 10 grand is a nice number. So ideally what I want to do is save £10,000 by the end of next year, December 2025. But to do that, we would need to stuff £130 a week. So given that we only have a £240 a week available, that is not achievable, which is fine. That's the whole point of going through this exercise. Health, I wanted to have £100 sort of rolling in there all the time. And put a good amount in each week, 20 quid. And then retirement, we've got stuff in our pension, so we're not saving separately for that at the moment. And then school uniform, 150 quid for next year, £5 a week. So that's sort of how I've worked out those things. So that's for the needs. And then for the wants, I'll do in a bit less detail. So for wants, we've got adventures, which is actually Harry Potter World, which I'd like £350 by the end of next year. Birthdays for families and immediate family, £750 a year. A house deposit. So I would like to get 60 grand saved for a house deposit and fees and moving costs. But yeah, 60 grand by my goal date of July 2029 would be £230 a week. So definitely can't be doing that one. Hey ho. Christmas, a grand for this year. Hawaii, my dream holiday destination. Some point in the next 10 years, I'd like to do that. Next year's holiday, 2 grand. Japan, which is Oscar's dream holiday destination, which we would like to do sort of when he's not too old, but also not too young. So yeah, at some point in the next 5 years, I'd say. New phones, 2 grand we need for our new phones in the next couple of years. Oscar's clubs, which are standard, I have to pay for those. Oscar's future, I would like to save 60 grand for when he's sort of 18, 19, 20. And that will be for university fees, driving lessons, maybe helping him with a new house, buying a car, anything like that. That would be the dream, but we can't afford to do it. We know that already. O stuff, normal, that's staying as is. School stuff, £100 as well. School trip, 2 grand. That's the one that we've sort of been drip feeding forever in the hopes that if there's ever a big school trip, like a ski holiday or something, Oscar can afford to go, or rather we can afford to send him. School holidays, we like to save £100 every week of the school holidays, so that's £1,300. Special occasions, so Mother's Day, Father's Day, £300 a year. A UK break for us as a family, £1 grand. Uni fees, I would love to be able to pay for my uni modules up front, but I can't. And weekend away, it would be really nice if me and Ben could go on a couple of breaks away, just the two of us across a year. So I put £500 for that. So once I've looked at all the things I'd really like to save for, I then looked at how much it would all cost and the totals, which are, shall I zoom these in a bit? So we have got a massive shortfall. So for us to be able to save all the money that we would like to be able to save, we would need to earn an extra £3.5 grand a month, which is an extra £790 a week. Can you imagine if, so what's 790 plus 240? I can't be bothered to do the maths. 1,050? Can you imagine if I was cash stuffing 1,050 quid every week? How ridiculous would that be? I mean, I'd be totally up for it, don't get me wrong. But yeah, we would both have to pick up extra jobs if we wanted to do all that. And we don't want it that badly. We might at some point decide that we're going to pick up extra jobs, but it's not on the cards at the moment. So that is why you have a look at all of the things that you would love to save for, see what your shortfall is. If you can bridge that shortfall by working extra or spending less elsewhere, then great, do it. Or otherwise, then have a look at what you can actually afford and start making compromises, which is the next part of the spreadsheet. So across to our actuals then, very, very reduced list. So all of these little bits of colour, and I hope you can see this a little bit, we'll try and zoom in as much as we can. All these little bits of colour are for me to sort of indicate where the changes have been made. So we've still got the £240 a week for cash stuffing that I said that we had before. So the first change was in car. So we couldn't afford to save that £1,000 by the end of the year, and also save for car service, and car insurance should have been in there as well, but I forgot. So what I've decided to do is say that I'm going to have sort of like a cap on the car envelope, which will be rolling, of £1,000, and I can afford to stuff 20 quid a week. That's all I can afford. So previously it was 40 quid a week to get the emergency fund by the end of the year, and £5 a week for the service. And then I think we'd probably need another £10 for the insurance. So it's come down quite a lot, but that's what we can afford. Oscar's clothes is staying the same, £5 a week. The next change was initial emergency. So originally we had the goal of 10 grand by the end of next year for like a full 3-month emergency fund. So with emergency funds, ideally you should have between 3 and 6 months worth of expenses. So that's all of your fixed costs and then regular expenses like groceries, petrol, that sort of thing. But we can't afford to do that at the minute. So we're just going to focus on getting the initial £1,000 emergency fund saved by the end of this year. So on average, to do that, we'd need to stuff 40 quid a week. Health, same, £100 rolling, but I've bumped that down to £5 a week rather than 20. Retirement funds are staying just as our pension, and school uniform is staying the same, £5 a week. So then in terms of our wants, I had a look at this, and there's a lot of compromise here. So we have selected our most important and imminent things. So adventures, which is the trip to Harry Potter World, I'd like to have by Christmas next year. But I can't afford to save for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use any extra income that I have for that, including zeroing out and savings challenges, because the one thing I have budgeted for is an extra £10 for savings challenges because they're fun. So I'll use savings challenge money for Harry Potter World. Birthdays, I've split out into 3 separate categories. So we've got our family birthdays, which is about $350 a year. Christmas birthdays, which all happen around Christmas, and I tend to just buy all the Christmas and birthday presents together, so it's easier to have a separate fund for that, £200, and then Oscar's birthday, a separate £200. So I split those all out, so it's still the $750, but split out across different categories. So for family birthdays, we're just going to do £5 rolling, and that's going to have a cap of £100. So in the envelope, if I've got at most £100 in there, then that should cover all of the birthdays, which is good. Christmas birthdays for this year, we need to save on average £10 a week. For Christmas, average of £60 a week. Holiday. So to reach that £2,000 target by June next year, we need to save an average of 40, but I can't afford to do that. So we're going to be saving an average of 15 plus any extra income challenges, zeroing out, that sort of thing. New phones, we can't afford those at all. So again, that will be extra income and blah, blah, blah. So the idea with the new phones is we would really like to buy phones without having to get them on credit, because we've just gone through this whole journey. So I'd rather not have more credit. So that's the plan, is just so we can buy the handsets outright. But yeah, we'll make it if we can. If we can't, then we'll have to use credit, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with getting stuff on credit. I've said it before. If you can afford it and you're paying it every single month, there is nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you're not over committed. That is where you get into trouble. And also interest rates. Do not get debt with ridiculous interest rates. If you can find the cash, find the cash. Right. Oscar's birthday, £200, £5 a week. O clubs, they need to be paid, £10 a week. Oscar's future, we can't afford to stuff any regular income for Oscar's future, which again is fine at the moment. So this is just for the next 6 months. For January, I'll do a whole new review. I'll look at the numbers again and see what we can afford next year. But at the moment, we can't afford anything for Oscar's future. And I've been listening to a few financial people on the interwebs, and they have all said the same, which is save for yourself and your future before you save for your kids' future. And there is for a really, really good reason. If you don't save for your retirement, your kids will have to support you through retirement. And I don't know anybody who wants to put that burden on their kids. So it's far better for you to save for your own future before saving for your kids' future. However, with that in mind, I really do want to feel like I'm doing something. So I still have a savings challenge for Oscar's future, and it will tick along. But in the general grand scheme of things, you should always focus on, again, putting on your oxygen mask first. Apparently, that's what the experts say. I am not an expert. This is not advice. O-Stuff, £5 a week as usual. School trip, £20 a week as usual. School holidays, £25 a week to save for all of those. And special occasions like Mother's Day, Father's Day, nothing regularly, but we will use extra income for that. So all in all, this now fits into our budget. So it's £230 a week for all of these things. And we've got £10 left for savings challenges. But this is the worst case scenario. So this doesn't include zeroing out the bank every month, any extra income we get, or there might be some times where we don't need to stuff the full 200 into the phone, fun and home pots in hyperjar. So then I can roll that into the cash budget. Also, because life is life, it just never works out like this way and perfectly. So some weeks I might have more money anyway. In fact, when I look at the numbers, it works out that I have more money to cash stuff. So I think I've done something wrong in these numbers, but that's pretty much where it is. So that is the plan. I was going to say something else just then. Oh yeah, what I'm not going to do is stuff the same amounts every single week, because that will get really, really boring. So I'm just going to juggle up some numbers here and there. So put like more into emergency, less into Christmas. Focus on emergency for 5 months and then focus on Christmas for 5 months, and try and make it a bit interesting for me. Because if I'm just putting 20 quid a week every single week, well, I will be for car, ignore that one. But if I'm putting like 60 quid a week every week into Christmas, and also 40 quid a week every week into emergency, and it's always the same, it's just going to be really dull, and I'm not going to want to do it. So I've just sort of jumbled things up a bit. So it's not going to be the same money every week. So that is the actual versus the dream. Next year, I will look at it all again. Also, just a quick one, ignore the notes on here because they don't quite make sense. I had a look at all of our expenses and had a look at our needs, our wants, and then how much we're actually saving. So this is based on our pre-tax income. So taxes aren't included, obviously, because in the UK we get those taken out by PAYE, so we don't have to save for taxes. But they say there is a rule of 50, 30, 20. So you should be spending 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and then 20% on savings. However, there's some discussion on this in the financial YouTube community, and a few people say that's a bit too rigid and doesn't work for every budget. So a couple of people say aim for 50 to 60% for needs, and then I think it was 20 to 25% for wants, and then 5 to 10 for savings. 10 to 15 for savings. I think those numbers probably don't add up, but it's something like that. So it's a bit more flexibility. Anyway, I ran all this looking at the 50, 30, 20, and I was really brutal with what I was considering a need and what I was considering a want. So right early on, I considered things like Spotify a need because my husband needs music in his life. But then I realised actually he can still get music. It doesn't mean he has to spend 20 quid a month on Spotify. So that then becomes a want, if that makes sense. Whereas for my husband, his gym membership is a need. Like that is an absolute must, cannot survive without that. So then that becomes a need. Whereas the gym membership for me is a want because I don't use it that often and I could just go for a walk and I'd be fine. So it's that sort of thing, being really honest with yourself about what is a need and what is a want. And then the savings here is actually the proportion of our salaries that we put towards our pensions, and also the amount that we're saving for like emergency and sort of proper long-term savings in the binders. So anyway, I looked at this and I realised that our needs are really too much. They're 60%. I can't knock them down any further. I had a look. There's nothing that we can reduce or claim as a want or anything different. So our needs are actually too much for our income. So I had to think about what I could do about that. And I asked my boss for a pay rise. Simple. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll be getting a pay rise. Months even, I'll be getting a pay rise, which is good. So that's one way of making your numbers look better. But yeah, so I just thought I'd share that because I thought it was quite interesting. I have done so much talking. I'm really sorry. We're nearly finished with the spreadsheets. Give me a sec. I need to take a breather. Right, I took a breath. So that is how we got to what I am going to show you now, which is the new budget and how I'm going to manage the new budget, which is super exciting. So we're going to have a look at July's budget because June's budget was a bit off because I started our new budget after I got paid because of the debt repayment and stuff. So yeah, we'll just start with July. So this is the budget for July, which is my pay period from the 19th of July to the 20th of August. So we've got a starting balance of 0. The bank is absolutely empty. My salary is coming in, child benefit and Ben's salary. I'm going to be bringing in £17.74 from the business account to cover some expenses on the credit card. We're going to unstuff 160, maybe next week or the week after, from fuel to pay for the credit card, and fuel 60 quid again for the credit card. So all in all, we're going to have just over £5,000 going through the bank during this period, 19th July, 20th of August. Expenses wise, we've got bills and rent, which is 2,400. Oscar's getting 25 into his GoHenry. Credit card bill of 247.74. And if anyone is really, really diligent and good at maths, you'll notice that this is 10 quid short of that. And that is because we spent £10 in a supermarket on something. I don't know what it was, so I've just decided to absorb the cost rather than unstuff it from anywhere. So on the 26th of July, I will be moving £2,355 into our 4-weekly cash account, which is just over here, and I'll show you that in a second. And that is for all of our weekly hyperjar, our spending money and our cash stuffing money. So anything that can be managed weekly goes into the 4-weekly cash account. Anything that needs to be managed monthly, like direct debit, standing orders, that sort of thing, stays in the monthly bills account. Hope that makes sense. So at the end of everything, we'll have 42.98, which I'll keep in there as a buffer and which we will zero out at the end of the month, hopefully. So all in all, income 5,061.12, expenses 5,061.12, ending balance 0. That is the plan. Every month we plan to end on a proper zero-based budget, which is really exciting, actually, really, really exciting. So that's the monthly bills account and what I'm going to be doing there. So over to the 4 weekly cash account then. So in here, this will run from my husband's pay period, which is the 26th of July to the 22nd of August. So we should have a starting balance of 0. We're going to transfer in 2,355 on the 26th of July. Ben will take his personal spending. My personal spending, I'll put 40 quid over to my bank account digitally, just for some digital spending money, and then the rest I will cash stuff. The 20 quid this is short, so my personal budget is 300, but 20 quid of that is a direct debit out of the monthly account, so I don't include that. Groceries, £400 a week, and then that should mean that we've got, over the 4 week period, £1,160 to stuff, so that is either via hyperjar or not hyperjar, that's included. So in cash, basically, 1,160 in cash every 4 weeks. So fun and home at the moment are on 0, but their budget is down here still, £200, and that is because I won't know how much I'm putting into fun and home until the 25th of July. Hope that makes sense, because yeah, I just won't know until then what's left in the jars, so how much needs to be topped up into each of those. So that's how those will work. I hope that made sense. Let me know. So we've got the monthly budget, which is monthly bills, standing orders, my salary, and also child benefit is staying in that account. And then we move over Ben's salary plus just a little bit extra to even it all out to the 4 weekly cash account on his payday, and that is where I manage the week-to-week stuff. So the fun bit now, we get to close out June's paycheck budget. So I get paid at really awkward time in the month. So whenever I talk about closing out, it's going to look like weird, but we are now closing out June, even though we're in the middle of July. So we're going to close out June's budget. So this is the monthly account for June. So it was from the 28th of June to the 18th of July. I actually got paid the week before, but this is, like I said, a bit of a weird one after everything had been done with the debt and what have you. So we had a starting balance in the end of £1,258.69, which was £35 more than I had budgeted. I think there was some stuff pending at the time that I'd missed. Nothing additional for my salary or child benefit that had already come in beforehand. Ben's salary came in, and also we got £26.80, which was a dentist fee return. So my husband has to pay for his dentist, and then his work insurance pays us back. So that came in, and I wasn't expecting that to come back. So all in all, we had £61.82 more than we expected for that month. In terms of expenses, we had £368 less for our bills, which was really, really lovely. We put an extra 60 quid over to the cash account for cash stuffing, because we had the extra 60 quid across these two things. And then our buffer, and the amount that we're going to be zeroing out today, is £5.50 more than expected, which is lovely. Very happy about that. So in total then, we had £61.82 more in expenses, but we also had £61.82 more in income. So our ending balance is still 0, which is really, really lovely. I won't close out the 4 weekly budget until next week, because that's when that one closes. So the exciting thing is now we get to zero out £55.15. So we're actually going to play with some money. Yay! Right, so the plan every month is to actually just do like a close out and zero out video. So yeah, it won't be as long-winded as this one, don't worry. It'll probably be a really short one, like 5 minutes. So anyway, what we're going to do, I have got £55 from the bank, all in fivers, and we're going to have a bit of a game with it. And we are going to split it across all of these categories. So emergency fund, Christmas, passports, Oscar's future, our trip for Harry Potter World, and also Be Save to absorb some change. I say Be Save, I'm just going to use Be Save as a like challenges indicator because I don't think I will put it all in there. Anyway, so those are the categories that we are going to do. But before we do that, the very first thing we need to do is deal with our pennies. So there was 15p that we zeroed out from the bank account that went over to my interest and pennies jar that I have in one of my digital banks, where every time the interest comes in, I pop it in there, and then any random pennies from buying things or from the zero out will go in there as well. So I'm going to use this tracker from Budgie Budgets, the lovely, lovely Freya. So in there at the moment, we've got some catching up to do. We have £5.77. So I'm going to colour this all off. Freya's tracker is awesome. So it's got a £1 here, and then it goes backwards all the way down to a penny, and then a £1 from the middle again that goes then backwards all the way down to a penny down here, which is really cool. So yeah, I love it. I just thought it was really nifty. So nifty, how old am I? Right, so 577. So we're going to minus off the 1 to start with. And then I'll do the 99. And then I'll speed the rest of this up. Cool, so that took us to there, and then we've got 87. So what I'll do is I'll do this, I'll save the 100, and then when we've got 100, I'll decide where it's gonna go. I don't know where yet, absolutely nothing has been decided. So that was that for that. So we have got our pennies sorted, so now we can have some fun. Right, let's move this out the way. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I'll probably have put chapters in for people who wanted to skip, but it's a bit late to say that now. Right, so let's lay these all out in any old order. I wish I had some cool funky budgie bucks. Do you guys watch Budgie Budgets? I talk about her a lot, but that is because I have a big affinity with Freya. She has a very similar brain to mine. What is on screen and what is not? That looks okay. So yeah, I absolutely love Freya, Budgie Budgets. I just think she's, yeah, loving what she's doing. Doing a good job, Freya. But yeah, she's got these really cool budgie bucks that she uses, which I love, and I wish I had something as cool as that, but I don't. Right, so let's put this somewhere. Okay, so I'm just going to roll a dice. I was going to use cards, but that got confusing. So I'm going to roll a dice, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pop a fiver on, see where we get. So 5. Oh, good, that's Harry Potter World. I hope this is in shot. Oh, 5 again. 3, so I only have 55, so not everything's going to get something. 4, and 4 again, and 6, oh, I'll use these ones, and 2, 6, use these ones, 1, 5, wow, that's really cool. Oops, 5 again. Oh, brilliant. Okay, that's it. Oh, that was too short. I wish that could have lasted forever. So now I've got to try and tidy this all up without making an absolute mess. So we've got 10 in Be Save, 20 in Money Managed, which is really exciting. Then we've got 10 for Oscar Saving, which means I get to colour in some watermelons. 5 for Passports. How West Country was that, passport? 5 for Christmas, and then 5 for Emergency. So this is going to get a bit flippy flappy with binders. So Emergency lives in this one, and I don't think I actually have a 5 that I can colour off, because that 5 there should actually be a 10. So I am just going to put the 5 just back into the binder, and I will round that up. Actually, if I put like if I put a little 5 on here, that will remind me that I need to do that. So let's pop the tracker back in and the 5 in here. So there is now 35 in Emergency, which is cool. And going forward, I'll probably do my extra income with these videos as well, but do them like a week in arrears. I think that's probably the plan. Things will change. Undoubtedly, things will change. So Christmas then is getting £5, and hopefully we have a £5 we can colour off. We do. There's one there. So 5 for Christmas, which takes us to 20, 40, 50, 5, 60. Lovely. Lovely. So next is Passports. So we've got £5 for Passports. I can't colour a 5. I could colour off that 5. Should I just colour off a 5? Do you know, I might do that just as a reminder that I've already done it. So I'm just going to colour off that 5. You watch me forget that now. So in Passports, we should now have 60, I think. So 20, 40, 50, 55, 60. We do. Lovely jubbly. So 60 in there. Lush, so that's that one. So that is that for the Binder of Joy. So next we're going to go into the Challenges binder very carefully because all the pounds keep falling out. Oh, no, we're not doing that one just yet. We are doing this one from Soph's Budgeting Life. So for this, we have got £10, which means I get to colour in 2 watermelons. I'll be back with you in a minute. There we go. So not my best colouring, but hopefully you can't see it. So there's now 4 of those coloured off, which is really exciting. So that's 20 quid. I'm just going to pop that down on the floor to dry. Let's grab this back. Oh, that is the round it up. That needs to go back in. And then, what's this? Yeah, okay, good. That's that brain again. So in here now we have £20 for Oscar's future. A whole 20 quid. Will that get him? A couple of drinks at uni one day, maybe. So that is that one. And then next we have got Money Managed, which is saving for Harry Potter. We got 5, 10, 15, 20 to go into there. I think I've asked you guys this before, but drop down in the comments what your Hogwarts house is. Like properly though, as in a proper Pottermore one. What is your Hogwarts house? 5, 10, 15, 20. Both me and Oscar are, Ben, are Gryffindor. And Oscar is, of course, a dear little Hufflepuff. Because that's just the way that worked out. So £20 in there. So we've got 25 in there now. We're actually reading this exact book at the moment, which is lovely. We're on Prisoner, which is always fun. Right, I'm going to pop that to one side for now. Right, so we have got £10 for challenges, and the question is, do I risk knockout 9 again? Because I do only have £10, or do I do something else? Do you know what? No, I'm going to do jelly beans. That's what I'm going to do. I still don't have a coloured dice yet. Hint, hint, you person who's meant to be sending me a coloured dice, you know who you are. Right, so we're just going to do 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and work with it that way. So 5, which is red. Let's do that one over here. Lovely. Oh, sorry, I should probably put the money over, shouldn't I? So that's 3 and 2, which is orange, which is just 1. I don't have a bright orange. Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. So that was 3. So that's 4. Orange can go here. Lovely. And another 2, which is another orange, which is 1. Can go there. And then I've got £5 left, so I'm going to juggle that around in some other challenges so that I'm making headway. So £5 into jelly bean. Loads of coins in there now. So that's that one. And then we've got £5 left. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put 3, I think, into Torts and Hair. Lovely. And then the last 2, seeing as we used it as a placeholder, we probably should actually use it. So I'm going to put 2 into Be Safe. So 2 in there, and I am going to have to put my zips back on these envelopes, which is really going to bug me because for some reason these binders don't fit the zips, so the zips hang out the edge, and that's why I took them all off. But yeah, with coins, I think I'm going to have to. So that is it for everything. So that was loads. That was loads of fun. I hope you enjoyed that because it was, you know, a game of 2 halves, wasn't it? We did lots of numbers and then we did play with a bit of cash. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made some sort of sense about how we're going to be working the budget going forward. And yeah, if you've got any questions at all, then let me know. Also, apologies, I'm not keeping on top of comments like I usually do. I am going to get back onto those. But yeah, just thank you so much again for sticking with us and following us for this next part of our journey. It really, really does mean a lot. And yeah, I hope that you can sort of stick with me whilst I'm figuring it all out. Anyway, big thank you so much. Any questions, drop them down below. This week's affirmation: I am capable of creating the life that I want to live. I love it. I really do love it. Anyway, have an amazing few days until I see you again on Friday for another cash stuffing. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. I love you. Bye.